Hello and welcome to another episode of What's Inside. Today we're looking at a Warhammer 40,000 Dark Millennium supplement. This is the expansion box for the second edition of Warhammer 40,000, and I just found it in storage and I thought, well, we've been looking at vintage stuff a little bit, so might as well add one more onto the list. Now, this one is complete, unlike some of the other games that we've looked at that might be missing a piece, and I always try and tell you when I know something's missing. This one is complete and it's in shockingly good condition. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to open the warp cards. They are still sealed because I do want to keep this one in pristine shape if possible, or at least as close as I can. But since this is an old game and I used to play a lot of 40k, I have an open deck right here, which is the same as this one, and they're both complete. I checked online to make sure that I had the right cards, and all of them are accounted for in this deck. So we're going to look at this deck instead of breaking the seal on this one. So I'm sorry if you're a little disappointed by that, but everything else was already opened anyway. So let's dig right into the rest of the contents before looking at the warp cards, because they're kind of not as exciting. So we've got a rule book here. We've got our psychic power cards and some markers for effects. There's some more psychic powers, some strategy cards, some more psychic powers. As I recall, the Eldar had the most psychic powers on anything here. These are a little fragile, so we're going to be a little careful with them. And by a little careful, I mean I'm incapable of that, so I'll probably break about a dozen of these. But I'm trying to keep it in good shape, because these are kind of hard to find in good shape. So let's start from the other end here, so I can put them back the way they came in. Alright, so first we have the cards for the Chaos Space Marine Dreadnought and the Chaos Space Marine Bike. And there are some Wargear cards here, or Psychic Power cards for Slaanesh. There's 4 of them. They are Acquiescence, Pavane of Slaanesh, Beam of Slaanesh, and Fleshy Curse. Now the force cost is on here, so when you get your warp cards, you get force cards in this stack. So you need 1 force card for Acquiescence, 2 for Pavane of Slaanesh, 2 for Beam of Slaanesh, and 3 for Fleshy Curse. Next we have the Nergal Psychic cards and some squats. They've gotten rid of the squats. Here's the squat bike and the squat heavy bike. Squats were basically the space dwarves, but they've gotten rid of them out of the game. I think 2nd edition was the last time they appeared, so they just discontinued them. They were actually pretty tough, and they had some really good Terminator style armor. But the Nergal cards here, we've got Plague Wind, force of 3, Miasma of Pestilence, force of 2, Stream of Corruption, force of 2, and a force of 1, Aura of Decay. As you can see, some of these are kind of popping out, so I want to be a little bit careful with these. Now, Orcs, there's 8 psychic powers for the Orcs. And this sheet has the Orc Dreadnought card and the Orc War Buggy card. And of course the points costs are on the bottom of these as well. But the first 4 cards we've got here with these are, this is sheet number 5 by the way. Force of 3 to Crunch, Force of 3 Death Wave, Force of 2 Power Vomit, Force of 1 Ed Butts. Alright. Sheet number 10 was the squats, just so you know. Alright, let's see, sheet number 6, these are not in order obviously, but this is exactly how they came. So sheet number 6 we have the Orc Noobs Bikes, Orc War Bike, then for force of 3 we have a Warg, or Wog, I don't know, whatever. Force of 2 is Brain Busta, force of 2 Squish, force 1 Cop Dis. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the exact order these came in, because I never used this one, obviously. I just bought it for replacements because it was on clearance back in the day, and I just never ended up opening it. Here we have on sheet 7, we have an Orc War Track and an Orc Scorcher. Now these cards, we have 1 Librarian Psychic Power and 3 Inquisition Psychic Powers. So the Librarian Psychic Power is Smite, Force of 3. Then the Inquisition, we have Force of 3, Storm of Wrath, a Force of 1, Aura of Fire, Force of 2, Destroy Demon. And next we have 4 Tzeentch Psychic Powers and 2 Eldar cards. This is sheet number 9. We have the Eldar Jet Bike and the Eldar Dreadnought. Then for the powers here, these are Tzeentch, so it's Force of 1, Boon of Tzeentch, Force of 1, Pink Fire of Tzeentch, Force of 2, Bolt of Change, Force 3, Tzeentch Firestorm. Alright, here, this card we've got 4 Adeptus Psychic Powers, and the Space Marine Land Raider, and the Space Marine Dreadnought. You can tell that's the old style Dreadnought. This is sheet number 22. Displacement spell, Force of 2, or sorry, Psychic Power. They're spells. Machine Curse, Force of 2, Force of 1, the Carmine Assassin, Force of 2, Hellfire. So those are the first 4 Adeptus spell cards, or Psychic Power cards. These are the other 4 Adeptus. They are on sheet 23, along with the Space Marine Predator and the Space Marine Rhino. Now these 4 cards are Lightning Arc for 3, Assail, Force 1, The Gate, Force 1, and Scan, Force 1. Now next we have this sheet number 15, which is the Imperial Guard Sentinel and the Leman Russ Battle Tank. It's got all the stats on it, of course. Next we have the Eldar Viper and Eldar Warwalker on sheet number 14. Alright, here on sheet 18 we have Space Marine Bike and Space Marine Attack Bike. Alright, sheet number 19 we have the Space Marine Land Raider, or I'm sorry, the Space Marine Land Speeder and the Imperial Guard Land Speeder. Looks like these 2 popped out. These are Imperial vehicles on the bottom row, and on the top row is just, I believe, generic vehicle card. Yeah, generic vehicle cards. So on the bottom here we've got a Heavy Flamer, a Storm Bolter, Bulldozer Blade, a Hunter Killer Missile. Those are Imperial only. This is sheet number 13, by the way. And then for any vehicle, we have the Searchlight, Supercharged Engine, Null Shield, and Reinforced Armor. Alright, sheet 16 is just 2 cards, and these are both Orc vehicle specific. So these are Custom Force Field for 20 points and Squig Fuel Injector for 5 points. And it says specifically on there Orc vehicles only, but they are color coded, of course, green for the Orcs, and it says it on the back, so you really can't mess that one up. Then we have here we have some Inquisition Psychic Powers. There's 2 cards here. This is card number sheet 20. We have Scourging for a Force of 1 and Holocaust for a Force of 3. We've got another sheet of Inquisition Psychic Powers. This is sheet 24. We have Force of 1 Purge Psyker, Force of 1 Aura of Fortitude, and Force of 3 Vortex. Now we have Wargear Cards. This is sheet number 34. We have a Laser Blaster, Bright Lance, Executioner. Those 3 are Eldar only. Then we have an Auxiliary Grenade Launcher, which anyone can get, an Orc only Custom Blasta, and an Orc only Custom Shooter. Then we have a Psy Cannon that only the Imperium can get. Then we have a Bionic Arm, which is anyone. Bionic Leg, anyone. Squig Attack Arm, Orcs only, discard after use. Then we have another Orc only, Gyro Stabilized Mono Wheel. Then we have an Orc only, Telescoping Leg. So that's sheet 34. Next we have 2 Wargear cards on sheet 32, which is a Jump Pack and a Targeter. Targeter is only 2 points. That's pretty good if you got a couple extra points laying around. Next we have mission cards and a Wargear. This is sheet number 30. The mission cards are Guerrilla War and Witch Hunt. And the Wargear cards are the Stasis Grenade, which is a discard after use, Virus Grenade, which is discard after use, and a discard after use Toxin Grenade. Now those grenades are what these are for. You have your rad grenades, and then your virus traps, and one of those, I think that's Slaanesh markers. This is sheet number 4, and on the back is numbers 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then these are just repeated. So this Wargear card is sheet number 33. We've got a Nemesis Force Weapon for Inquisitors and Grey Knights only. A Witchblade for Eldar Psykers only. A Singing Spear also for Eldar Psykers only. Force Axe, any Psyker can get that. A Force Sword, any Psyker can get that. A Force Rod, also for Psykers only. A Psychic Hood, again, Psychics only. An Aegis Suit, anyone can get that. Seer Runes for Eldar Farseer only, discard after use. And then we have another Eldar Psyker only, discard after use with the Eldar Spirit Stone. It's 30 points, so you might want to make that one count. Digital Lasers, which anyone can use. The Graviton Gun, which only Imperial Techno Priests and Squat Engineers can use. Next we have another Wargear card sheet. These Wargear cards are on sheet number 36. We have a Meta Pack, Frozen, and Cameline. I think that says. I can't read upside down very well, sorry. Then on this one we have 2 mission cards and 3 Wargear. These are green mission cards. We have Guerrilla War and Witch Hunt again. This is sheet number 29. We have Armor Piercing Ammo, which is used once and discard. Seeking Ammo, which is used once and discard. And then Rad Grenades. This Wargear card is sheet number 31. We have the Wolf Helm of Russ, which is Space Wolves only. The Axe Morkai, which is Space Wolves Commander only. Nightwing, the Cyber Raven, which is Space Wolves Rune Priest only. The Mastercrafted Bolt Pistol, anyone can get that. The Rune Staff Stormcaller, which is Najal Stormcaller only. So that character has to have that if you want to equip it on anyone. Then we have the Frostang, which is Space Wolves only. The Hood of Gnarl, Gnyrll, that's Space Wolves Rune Priest only. And then the Pelt of Wolfen, which is Space Wolves Commander only. So sheet 31 is all about Space Wolves. Next we have Wargear sheet number 35. We have the Spiker Arm, which is Orcs only. Steel Skull, which is Orcs only. Polymorphine, which is a Fishico Assassinorum only. Immune, which is anybody. Custom Force Field, Orcs only. Demon Weapon, which is Chaos only. Combat Drugs, which is used once and then discard. Storm Shield, Power Field. The Weird Boy Staff. The Weird Boy Staff is Orcs Weird Boys only. Warp Jump, and then Teleportation Jammer. Or Teleport Jammer, rather. Alright, then here we've got our sheet number 21, which is our templates. So here we've got the Machine Curse template, Gate template 2 and template 1, Smite, the Orc Death Wave, and then we've got the Destructor template. I believe this is the same, or slightly longer than the Heavy Flamer, but it's about the same size. Otherwise, these are specifically sized, so yeah. Sheet 21. And on the back of this one is where the other ones are. We have Hellfire. The gates are identical, of course, and the Orc Death Wave is only used for one thing, too. Firestorm of Tzeentch is the same size as the Smite, and the Stream of Corruption is the same as the Destructor template. Alright, next we have strategy cards. This is sheet 26. We have Barrage, Reinforcements, Flank March, Booby Traps, Brilliant Strategy, Saved, Craven Cowards, and Insane Courage. We have some more strategy cards on sheet 26. This is Forced March, Delayed, Traitor, Malfunction, Crack Shot, Virus Outbreak, Ambush. Look out, sir! Arg! Yep, that guy died. Next on sheet 17, we have some more psychic powers. This time the top row is Squats in orange and Tyranids in purple. So this is sheet number 17. So we have the Squats we'll start with, obviously. Force 1, Domination. Force of 3 is Hammer of Fury. Force of 1 is Mental Fortress. Force of 2 is Force Dome. Then for the Tyranids, we have the Horror, which is a cost of Force 1, 2, 3, 1-3. Force of 1 is Hypnotic Gaze. Force of 2, Psychic Scream. Force of 3, Catalyst. And then we have the last two on sheet 25, which is the Eldritch Storm for Eldar and the Foot of Gork for the Orcs. I don't believe I read off the numbers for these Eldar ones. Well, I don't think I've read these at all. Eldar Psychic Powers on this sheet, which is sheet number 2. We have the Executioner, Force of 1-3, so 1, 2, or 3. Destructor, Force of 2. Battle Fate, Force of 1. Second Psychic Power sheet for the Eldar. This is sheet number 1. We have Fortune, Force of 1, Guide, Force of 1 or 2, Force of 3, Eldritch Storm. Next we have the Librarian Psychic Powers. This is sheet number 12. We have Prescience for Force of 1, Force of 2 is Quickening, Force of 1, Teleportation. And then on sheet 4, like I said, we have the Traps and the Rad Grenades and Virus Tokens. Next, we have Librarian Psychic Powers. This is sheet number 8. We have Force of 1, Psychic Shield. Force of 2, Iron Arm. Force of 2, the Salamander. Then on this one we have 2 strategy cards. This is sheet 28. Divine Inspiration and Special Issue. And the last sheet is 1 Librarian Psychic Power and 2 Eldar Psychic Powers. So the Librarian one is Strength of Mind, Force of 2. And then the Eldars, we have Mind War, which is Force of 1, 2, or 3. And then Doom, which is Force of 1. And this is sheet number 3. Then we've got our book, which is just, there's a big ad on the back. A lot of it, of course, like all Games Workshop stuff, has the miniatures in the back, pictured, which if you don't want to stroll down memory lane, has some cool vintage stuff pictured here with all the pieces that are necessary for them. Then there's flavor text, of course. You always have to have that. The new victory table conditions, which is expanded upon from the main rulebook. A little bit on dreadnoughts and various vehicle cards. Vehicle squads and weapons supports, the demons, strategy cards, flavor text, Grey Knight Terminators, which were new at the time. The different psychic stuff and characters, and expanded psychic information. And the lost psykers can dive, force rolls, stuff like that. Little information on the warp, pictures of everything that is in the box, and that's largely it. There's not a lot to it, but it's all useful information if you played 2nd edition Warhammer 40,000. Now let's look at the warp cards. Like I said, this one's sealed. I'm going to keep it that way, but I have an identical deck here from my old 40k stuff. And I did check, like I said, to make sure these are all accurate, and this is what's in that deck, and it is. So there's cards like Psychic Duel, Nullify, Force. The Force cards are how you cast the psychic power, spell if you want to get technical. And there are duplicates. So I'll break these down. There's Destroy Power and Ultimate Force, which is a guaranteed success. But nullification cards were fun because you could stop somebody else from using their powers. So you get one of each of Destroy Power, Energy Drain, Demonic Attack, Ultimate Force, Reflection, and Psychic Duel. Psychic Duel is a gamble because you could kind of kill your own guy if you failed the roll. So you had to really make sure you were better than that guy. For Nullify, which is just a cancellation, 1 through 3, you roll d6 obviously. 1 through 3, the nullification fails. 4 through 6, it works. So it's basically like a last-ditch effort to save somebody. But there's 8 of that card. And then these are the Force cards, which are the most common, because it's the tallest stack. And here we have 22 Force cards. So 22 of those, stack of these, and 1 of each of these. So your odds of getting Force cards are good, and these other ones are pretty good. The Ultimate Force was, of course, a great win because then you got an automatic success with some extra features, and it definitely aided. And you could play Demonic Attack on somebody and hose their character. The Nullifies were a gamble, but so is Psychic Duel, but it could cost somebody their Psyker for the Psychic Duel, and the Nullify would basically make them waste a turn. So yeah, that's the Force deck, or the Warp deck rather. The back of the cards look really cool. Some of the stuff from the fantasy game for the Chaos was actually pretty cool and pretty useful. And as I recall, the same box set was used for Chaos Demons in that as it was for the fantasy and 40k. I can't really talk. So that's the Games Workshop Warhammer 40,000 Dark Millennium supplement box. It's the Devastating War Machines, Wargear, and Psykers. And this came out around 1994. On the back it does have pictures of what's in there. There's the 36 warp cards, 4 mission cards, 18 strategy cards, 55 Wargear cards, 10 vehicle cards, the rulebook, of course, 9 counters, 8 psychic power templates, 24 vehicle data cards, and 60 psychic cards. So everything that you would need to play psychics and use the vehicles that came out for 2nd edition Warhammer 40,000 was in this box. The core rulebook didn't cover this stuff, so if you wanted to play with some of the cooler materials and get the Wargear, which was really helpful, you needed this box. So be aware of that if you want to do retro gaming with 2nd edition. You should probably try and track a copy of this stuff down. But that'll do it for this episode. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, give us a click on the likes there. And otherwise, we'll see you next time on What's Inside.